welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today, I have got a treat for you. We have the CEO and founder of L.E.A.P. Her name is Colleen Biggs, and she is just one awesome woman who is doing similar things to me on the other side of the globe with our different audience of empowering women in business. So we're going to be talking all things women in business and how to reach your full potential. A little bit about Colleen is that she is an award-winning leadership coach who empowers successful women leaders to create a bigger impact. And how do they do that? By leaning into their fullest purpose to reach their peak potential. And that's what we're all about here. How do we actually do that? Why do we want to do it? So that they can inspire change in other people, right? So that you can build unlimited success, so you can leave a legacy behind. She's got over 22 years of experience. She's launched 340 businesses in an international speaker. She's an author of 5 #1 international best-selling books. The latest one is called Step into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence. So I'm looking forward to chatting about that. She's also, not surprisingly, a Local Businessperson of the Year last year. She was also voted top 10 business leaders for women. And so we have going to have so much fun chatting today. Welcome to the program, Colleen.
Oh, Annie, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. You are one of my favorite people, and I love the similarities that we have. And so collaborating with you is just so easy. It's so easy.
It is so easy when you're on the same page and you've got the same purpose, right? When you just go, you know what do? I just help women have aha moments. I just help them lean into their potential. I just give them the tools and empower and equip them to do that. And I know that we both do those. And also what I love about us is that as soon as we connected, we went, how great is that we're actually both doing similar things in our own way with our own tribes. And that's a good thing. Isn't it great that we have got to that stage in evolution, that we don't compete, we collaborate, we go, hey, I hope you're going really great. What are you doing now? And what's happening in your space? It's super exciting.
It's a breath of fresh air, honestly, Annie. Being in corporate America for 30 years, I didn't have that opportunity to collaborate with as many women as I would have loved to. There was a lot of competition, and it really kind of hurt my heart a lot. I wanted to collaborate with them, but you felt like you always had to watch your back. And because someone would steal your idea, and then before you know it, it was presented, and you're like, well, wait a minute, that was my idea. Now I'm like, okay, Annie, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How can we empower more women? Because, we can't serve everyone. You can't serve everyone. I can't serve everyone. So we may have a similar avatar, a similar demographic. We may be talking and utilizing the same words, but your background, your experience, your knowledge, your skill sets are going to attract a specific client to work with you. Same with me. So if my biggest vision and the purpose of why I do this is to empower women to build those businesses, to inspire change, right? Like we talked about, to build unlimited wealth, to leave a legacy. And I know I'm only attracting specific clients. We need to have 100 of us out there, Annie, doing what we're doing to make the impact that we're looking to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we are definitely on the same page. And I just absolutely love that, celebrate it, and I'm nurturing it constantly. This is a whole new era of women's empowerment, collaborating with women, respecting women, the place that they're at. They're doing great things. So tell us all about L.E.A.P. What is L.E.A.P. and who do you serve in your community?
I came up with the word LEAP. I love acronyms, right? I talk about WIFM all the time, what's in it for me. And there's acronyms in everything I do. We have SMART goals, you name it. And I thought LEAP was such a good acronym, not only because when we think of the word leap, when you leap, you have to leave the ground, right? So there's a time when you're in suspense and you're moving from one place to another when you're leaping. But I wanted to break that down and say, what does it really mean to leap? And in my world, it means to lead with enhanced acceleration to reach your peak performance or your peak potential. And when do we really get to that peak potential of what we're capable of doing, that we only reach that when we're pushed, held accountable, and are pushed to this uncomfortable space, that leap, right? That leap that we take of being uncomfortable, of not knowing what we're gonna find on the other side, of not knowing how the end result's going to look, because we're trusting, we have faith, and we believe. And you have to have the desire first. So to take a leap really puts in someone's mind that they're going to have to trust and believe and do things they've never done before, because how else are we ever going to reach that peak performance? I remember, Annie, if you don't mind, I'll share something very quickly. When I was getting my black belt, my husband and I, our first degree black belt, I remember the night before my ceremony of getting my black belt. This is not a ceremony where you walk in and they hand it to you and you've done all the work and now you deserve it. It doesn't work that way. You have to test that day for the black belt, which means you have to do every form that you've ever done from 3.5 years ago to that day in order, from white belt all the way to the black belt. You can't miss one move, and you have to break a series of boards. You have to break all three. And leading up to this point, we had failed in the past. And when you fail, they don't say, no problem, try it again right now. And if you can break it, we'll let you move on. They say, we're sorry, you have to sign up another 10 weeks from today. And you have to do the entire test all over again, from push-ups to sit-ups to running a mile to breaking the board. So this is serious stuff. And the night before I was at the dojo, I could not break that last board, this Achilles heel board, right? This spinning round kick. It was driving me crazy. And I went home and kept working on it. I think I bruised my foot. I'm surprised it didn't break bones in my foot. I remember texting my master that night saying, I can't break the board. And all he wrote to me was, tomorrow is another day. Brilliant. And we need to remember that maybe not today, but tomorrow's another day. And so that test of, that mental capacity I needed to believe, because I had broken it 100 times in the past, that it was possible. I had made it happen, and tomorrow was the day it was going to happen. And, the reason why I wasn't breaking it was because I was in my head. I really was in my head. And that is just the mental toughness of pushing myself beyond what I thought was possible and reaching what your peak potential was. And that was the whole reason why I even got my black belt in the first place, was because I wanted to see what physically was possible for my body and what mentally was possible for me to push past where I thought, oh, I could do that. But then when you're really up against it and you're being challenged in that moment, can you? So, we have to do things we've never done before.
We sure do. And I absolutely love the parallels from, in the sporting arena, in athleticism to business. I actually see it all the time. I've learned more, I think, in just being in nature and going on hikes, climbing mountains, reaching summits that you think are a summit that are a false summit. Then you've got to dig deep. You've got to reset your mindset and go, oh my gosh, I thought I was here. When you're at altitude, I've done every space camp and the high passes, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was at the end, but then there's more and there's more and there's more. And I absolutely love that. And I love that point that you said, and I think that was brilliant advice to you, that there's, just because you don't think you can do it today, or it's even failed in the past, doesn't mean you can't do it tomorrow. It's actually just show up. It's a new opportunity, right? And even if on that situation you didn't get it, you could do the next 10 weeks and you get there eventually. And sometimes your walk is like that, right? You just, in business, you can struggle. And then you go, oh my gosh, it's all come alive. For whatever reason, the light bulbs come on. And then suddenly, oh, I get it now. And then suddenly you can just, go exponential. It's just a joy, right? And I know you get to do that with women constantly in their businesses.
You're not going to believe this. I looked at one of my plaques that I have on the wall here. So I have some plaques on the wall in front of me of my accomplishments, and they're there on purpose. Right? They're black belts, they're awards, they're medals that I've gotten from running marathons. And I looked at one of my plaques, and on one of the plaques that has my black belt, medallion hanging, it says, today not possible, tomorrow possible. And I just saw this like last week. And I thought to myself, he got it from the plaque. Here I thought he was like a mentor, like you got this girl. And I was like, he took it from the plaque, but he was an 8th degree. So it
Yeah.
was just embed in him that today it might not seem possible, but tomorrow it is. And that just goes down to that belief of pushing ourselves past. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile, right?
Mm.
No one could break the 4-minute mile, because even experts would say, oh my gosh, if you were to reach a 4-minute mile, your heart would explode. You would have a heart attack. They had all these reasons why no one could reach the 4-minute mile until the first person did.
Exactly.
And the minute they did, and now we know it's possible, how many more people broke it right behind them? It's about seeing a mountain moved to know the mountain can be moved. And that's why, Annie, your and I's responsibility is so great, because we need to move the mountains to show that others can move the mountains. We need to empower women that they can move the mountains. But most of the time, we need to see it's possible first, to know it's possible. And it might not feel like it today, but tomorrow it's possible.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love it when you make something your own and you just apply it constantly. That truth it is really profound. So it might have been on the black belt sort of banner, but I think it's a really great saying. And it's also a truth that I've lived in my work. Like I'm the mum of 5, as you know, with 2 sets of twins. And so I had that things are not possible, like throughout my whole journey. But they might not have been possible, yes, while I was, breastfeeding baby twins and having 2-year-old twin boys going feral in my house. But if I actually leaned in and do stepping stones, eventually it is suddenly possible.
Right.
It is possible to graduate from that degree. It's possible to then,
Yeah.
get that job. It's possible to start your own business. I absolutely love that concept. And so those listening in, if you've just failed, it's just failing forward, failing fast, learning from the experience. So tell me about your programs of what you do with L.E.A.P. What sort of masterminds do you have? How do you help women in your community?
Yeah. You just nailed it with what you said, Annie. It's about having those stepping stones, the tools, the resources. And, Mount Everest has always been a great analogy that I've worked with my clients for over 22 years, because some of them that are starting businesses for the first time, they've never been in this arena. It looks like Mount Everest, that they're standing at the bottom of Mount Everest and they're like, there's no way I can climb that mountain, because all they're looking at is the final goal of the launch and the money they want to make, and then they're like, but I couldn't possibly do all these steps in between. So I look at that, and I've always said, if you had a guide, you had the tools necessary, you knew exactly what you had to do when, and you showed up and the guide said, okay, today we're going to go from point A to point B. These are the tools you're going to use. And then we get to point B and we make camp. And then tomorrow we're going to go here to there. Before you know it, several days in, if you're climbing Mount Everest, you look back down the mountain and you're like, holy cow, I'm
Oh
3
my
quarters up
gosh.
the mountain. And my favorite thing to tell my clients is, I promise you that when you are, 3 quarters up the mountain, or all the way up the mountain, you're going to look back at your journey of building this business and you are just going to say, holy cow, I can't believe what I have been able to accomplish if I just took it one step at a time. And that's really, my programs are very similar to your programs, your startup, and then you've got your scale, and then your dominate. Mine are just called something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Startups are their own breed. Startups are their own place, right? There's a lot of basics that need to happen in a startup of getting a business just really from a bud, a seed, to bloom. You're really just, there's a lot of, to me, it's like putting a seed in the ground. You got to water it. It needs soil. It needs sunlight. There's the basics of what a business needs to even get the structure created, the infrastructure, right? The processes, the systems, the startup. So those are their own group. And I have a group of startups that I work with. And then I have my emerald emerging entrepreneurs that I work with. And these are the entrepreneurs that are on their way, right? They're building real revenue you. They're probably, moving and quitting a job at that point. And this has become their full time, or they've maybe had this business for a while, but they've really never scaled it or gotten traction on it, so they're not able to live off of the money. If you get my drift, it's more habit money. And then you have like your dominate ladies. These are my platinum ladies. And these are the ladies that are scaling their businesses, building multiple businesses. They're bringing on employees. They're handing off, they're buying their time, right? They're duplicating their time by having other resources working with them. And, they're moving into multiple six figures. Some of them are already in multiple six figures when they come to me, and their goal might be 7. Again, we need to get into the map of the world of what's happening in her world. And what is her goal? Maybe at this point, her goal is to scale out and sell the business. And she really wants to be able to hand that off. How do I duplicate these processes and procedures to get someone else in here to run this business for me now? Because I'm ready to bail out, because I want to spend more time with my grandkids or travel with my husband. And how do I do that over the next 5 years? Right. So success looks very different to many of us. And the first thing to really decide for any of your listeners right now that are listening is, what is it that lights you up? What makes you happy, right? And what does your ideal life look like if you designed it exactly the way you wanted it to be designed? That's how you build your business, based off of the life that you design for yourself. Because I promise you, Annie, you know this, if we do not design the life that we desire, it will fall on us by default, and it will happen to us. And then you're just constantly going to be putting out fires. And it's that saying that you quit a 40-hour-a-week job to be an entrepreneur and work 80 hours a week. I'm like, I don't know what entrepreneurs working 80 hours a week, but I'm not. And I'm so sorry that you're in the wrong program, as an entrepreneur, because having that badge of busy just isn't a thing anymore. It's more like a scarlet letter now. It's not really like I'm so busy and I work really hard. It's like, I'm sorry, let me teach you how to work smarter, put processes and systems in place so that if you do go down or something happens, you've got income coming in still. Things keep moving. The sky does not fall if you go down or something happens, because at my age, I've got aging parents. We've got all kinds of things happening in my family that kind of take my time away. And so to me, a success in a business is being able to build a business without having to, apply more time and more effort in building that business. But, I've done the hustle to get it where it is today. Right now, It's about, scaling smart. Mm-hmm.
It's all about creating a life by design. And that's actually one of my programs on my platform as well, Life by Design, because it is actually the core. It's the essence of why you're doing it. And I say that to people in my incubators. If you're doing more than 40, 50 hours, you might need to do that for a short sprint. So in the startup phase, yes, you haven't quit your day job, you're doing extra. So, work your butt off for that 6 to 12 months. But if it continues on, after that, there's got to be an issue with, your systems or your processes, your infrastructure. You're not connecting with your key avatar. You're not marketing directly in the right way. There has to be something that is actually why you join a business coach or incubator program to nail, because that's exactly it. People who are in our area of domination, you go, yeah, well, that's why we did it, so that we are our own boss, that we can then, if my granddaughters need Nana, I can kind of arrange my day, I can make things happen. We had this interesting situation recently that we've just been invited, one of our gorgeous family friends, their eldest son, who's the same age as my firstborn twins, is getting married in Spain. And so that was I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going in Spain. We're all going to Spain for the wedding. And then suddenly, of course, there's always more with that. So now we're going to Morocco, Portugal, and Spain. And so because I've got my own business, my husband's got our own business, we're just like going, we've created these businesses for a reason, so we can actually work anywhere in the world. We want to seize the moment, seize the opportunity, right? We had another family friend who then went and said, oh, I don't know if we can come because we've got our own business. And I thought, oh, that was a really interesting thing, because one, it's still online. It's not as if they've got a shop, but it was that concept of I can't do it anywhere else, or no one else can do what I do. And so obviously it was a flag in the system. And anyway, they've now got FOMO, so they're coming anyway. But I think
No.
I think we've actually helped them on their journey to realize what their priorities are, because that's it. There's stages that it can be good. And then, but also, you know, for those young fempreneurs, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs that we're mentoring and coaching, we actually do need to role model that it's possible. If we're frantic and never available, always being busy, it's not a great role model for them.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the other thing is there are going to be times in your business when you're scaling and you're going to have to work more hours and put more time in. You know, I did a really big event last year, wrote a lot of books last year. It was a growth year for me. Right. And there's times where we're setting up systems and processes. Maybe we're redoing a website. Maybe we're writing new books or getting into another adventure that we hadn't been into yet. So to get these launched, it takes additional time and effort to put into that. And then it's kind of like doing the effort. I think of like on a surfboard, right? You got to do the effort to paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle and paddle. Then you get to ride the wave. So, but you're not paddling the entire time.
Exactly.
Right? You're not paddling the entire time.
Should be just a sprint.
That's correct. So there are going to be times where it's like, yeah, you need to buckle down right now. And maybe you can't go on vacations for the next 3 months and you're working a lot of hours, but it's all for this purpose. And it's going to be worth it in the end, right? You're designing something else. So, you know, those short spurts of time is okay. Maybe that's when you're hiring a lot more of your team to help you and really come in and, you know, be by your side to help you build what you need to build. But that should never be a constant thing in your business. And you're right, Annie. We build these businesses so that we can work from anywhere, so that we can say, yes, I do want to go to that wedding. And I do have the freedom, because freedom of time and being able to, you know, the freedom of where I work, those are the top things on my list, and who I work with over money, always have been. Because knowing I have the freedom of time and who I work with is 1 and 2 for me over money. Because if someone offered me a job that was making millions of dollars, my husband doesn't believe this, but I told him I would still turn it down if it didn't include my freedom of time, like location, and who I got to work with. Because you pull those away from me, it doesn't matter how much money you give me. I've lost all my freedoms that matter the most to me. So that's what I talk about with design, because we need to know what is the most important thing to us when you design this business and your life the way you want it. It doesn't make sense to run a business that is, let's say, a restaurant where you have to be there because you've put yourself in the middle of it, and no one else can run it as good as you do, and you don't want to get a manager, and you have to be there from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night, yet your goal was to be at home with your family in the evenings. But it doesn't make any sense, right?
Exactly.
But I've seen people do it all the time, and they think for some reason that's going to provide them the freedom, but you have to design it that way.
Yeah, you have to have the design, because you have to know, well, what is the journey? What's the next step? When are we going to get to that situation? Because otherwise, like, a decade can go on, and you've been working at 80 hours for a week for a decade, and you go, oh my gosh, I thought, you know, because you're still doing that same thing. Let's change track. You've written a book called Step into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence. Tell us about, great, you've got a copy in front of you. Tell me about the reason that you wrote this book, why you're passionate about it, and what people are going to learn from it.
Number one, the reason why I wrote this book is because the complaint that I get most often, and why a lot of female entrepreneurs struggle, is they feel like they have to go fishing for clients constantly, that it's a constant push and pull, right? I got to get out there and I got to find another pond to fish in to get, reel in more clients. And I've got to, it's constantly this desperate mode of, I need more clients. I need to fill more events. I need to fill more classes. I need to fill more courses. Right? And they're constantly out there fishing. And my philosophy, and why I put this together, and I collaborated with 10 other authors in this, is I wanted them to see all the different ways that it was possible to put yourself in the spotlight. So instead of going after all of these clients. Put yourself somewhere where you're being seen, you're being heard, and you're being visible. So for instance, one of those is podcasting. By getting on podcasting, by putting energy toward podcasting, you're talking one to many now in communities of people that have never heard you before.
Exactly.
Right? Beautiful. You will attract those people that are listening to you, that need to hear your message from you, because people can only hear messages from certain people, right? Goes in one ear, right out the other to others. But then one time you're like, oh my gosh, that's so profound. And someone standing next to you is like, I've been telling you that for 5 years. And you're like, never heard it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So what podcast is a great way to get your message out for someone who needs to hear your message, to hear it, to then say, I need that person in my life. Then before you know it, they're reaching out on your website and they've just gotten into one of your programs, right?
Yes.
Easy way to attract clients, right? Not push and pull, but attract them. So podcasting is one way. Another great way is on stages. I've sponsored events where I get to, I'm paying to play, to be on the platform, knowing that my audience is there, the demographic is there. And I have had people reach out to me right and left about, I just loved it, like your energy, who you are, what you talk about. You're just so straight to the point, no BS. I need someone like that in my life. How do I work with you? Right? And maybe I wasn't even pitching that where I was. I was pitching a different program I had, or a workshop that I was doing, to get someone into know, like, and trust me. But they saw me immediately and just knew I was the right person. This is the point of attracting people. That's the easy way to do business. It's with ease, right? We show up exactly who we are, unapologetic, doing exactly what we do, saying what it is that we say. We don't mold ourselves or become something for a specific group of people. We show up exactly who we are, and we share our knowledge that we're asked to share, or we answer questions that we're asked, and the right people will hear the message that they need to hear, and you'll attract those right people. And that's how I've done business this entire time. I don't go after people. I don't, go fishing for people. I don't, buy email lists and, mass, spray and pray. We say, right? Like spray and then pray that someone does something. I attract people to me. And they'll say, so-and-so told me I needed to meet with you, or, I saw you on an event, or I met you at this networking event, or, you were brilliant on this summit, or whatever it might be. And then they come to me. So it's a great way to do business when you don't feel like you have to be out there spending all this money on Google ads and Facebook ads. And it's right for some businesses for sure. But, the women that I'm talking to in this instance, are women that provide a service. And it's generally not like a specific product. They're providing a service for someone. And so, this is full of how to do that on Instagram, how to do this with, on stages, how to do it when, you have a vision, right? And you clearly share what that vision is and how that will anchor you when things aren't going well. So the women in here are brilliant. They're from all walks of life. They're extremely successful, and they all give their tidbits and their advice from experience of how stepping in the spotlight for them have helped them and empowered them to build successful businesses by attracting people through these different types of platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is brilliant advice, because I learned that myself of when you actually, show up unapologetically and go, this is who I am. It's really bold and it's really brave, and it is the massive shift to domination, right? If when you're in those early phases of starting, you're concentrating on the business, you're trying to get every single dollar and client that you can get, you're sort of in the mechanics of it, to actually elevate yourself to that higher level, and then just go, hey, you know what, if I show up just consistently being me, doing what I do, other people actually just see that. And the amount of people who watch it over a period of time, so even if you get up on that stage and they don't then come and talk to you, they've seen you on the stage, they've then gone and listened to you on the podcast, they've gone and ask someone else, do you know of Colleen Biggs? You know, what's this about? And then they'll go, oh yeah, actually she's amazing, or I'm part of her L.E.A.P group and this and that. Then suddenly you've got that person reaching out and go, hi there, you know, can I talk to you? And that's the most amazing thing. The one thing I love about it, Colleen, is it then becomes effortless. Like you just spend more time in the fun, which is the whole goal of
Right.
dominating in business,
Yeah.
right? That you
Yeah.
actually spend your core time attracting people who are actually ready. They're not thinking, they're not hard. You don't have to do hard sell. You actually have to
Mhm.
go, oh, thanks for reaching out to me. How can I help you? And then
That's right.
but you have to be confident, don't you, on what you're then able to provide them. So you've got to have
Yeah,
a
you gotta give them what they want, right? You've gotta give them what they want, and then, then you wind up, teaching them what they need. But, you gotta give them what they want. They don't wanna buy what you think they need,
no,
right? That's not how it
never.
works. You gotta give them what they want, right? So you're really selling what they want, and they're the ones that determine that, because regardless, Annie, if you and I were standing on the same stage and I could see this happening, by the way, so we should probably make this happen, and going back and forth, and you're talking and I'm talking, yeah, Annie, and you're saying what you need to say, and then you turn it over to me and I'm saying it, and we're just in synchronicity. I guarantee you that every single individual in that audience is hearing something different than the person sitting next to them, right? Because we filter it through our reality, our thoughts, our beliefs, our everything. And then someone's sitting right, two women are sitting right next to each other, and someone's like, oh man, that Annie, her energy she lights me up. And the other person's like, really? Because I feel that about Colleen. Like she just
Yeah.
talking to my soul, right? These are two women that we are talking the same words. We're doing the same businesses. We're saying the same things, but they each are going to feel differently about each one of us. And we have to remember that that's what our superpower is. That is what makes us stand out from other people. So I never fear collaboration or, being in the presence of someone else. In fact, when someone's knocking it out of the park and they're doing something great, I'm like, let's talk. Like, what are you doing? How did you do that? How did you build that? Wait, I want to know more, because at that part, I become a student, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like many women are almost afraid to ask that because, oh no, they're going to look at me and not think I have it all together anymore. Well, I don't care what other people think and if they think I have it together or not, right? That doesn't matter. If I feel like there's an area in my business that isn't as strong as it could be, and I see that someone else is doing it, then I want to know how they did it. And I'm going
Exactly.
to ask every question in the book till I
Yeah.
get the answer, or hire them and say, teach me how to do it, you know?
Exactly. We always want to be learning, evolving, growing.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's not a problem. That's compliment to someone else who's actually doing, doing that walk better than
Yeah.
you at that time. And then you go, yeah, absolutely. I want to learn every element, because then you're not even copying it. You then apply it to your own context. You make it your own. And what I love about that comment that you said about, we use it as our superpower. Absolutely. You and I standing on a stage, that's right. You come with your own personality, your own way of communicating, your own quirkiness, your own whatever, that someone will then go, I dig that. I'll always, it's like you're going out to a local restaurant, you see two Thai restaurants and go, which one will I pick? You're both wanting Thai, but you just kind of go, okay, well, is it the menu? Is it the design? Is it the smell that's coming out of the thing? We're all so subjective based on where we're at that time. And that's the customer journey. So my learning has always been that, in my earlier years, I used to get people telling me, Annie, you've got to tone down a little bit. You're too loud. You're too much personality, and I'm like going, oh, wow. And then I actually went, oh my gosh, I used to get those reports at school. Annie talks too much, would do better if she stopped talking. And then I went, oh, and it sort of brings these things. And then I realized, you know what? That's why I get to lead organizations. That's why I get to make impossible things possible, because I'm confident in my voice, because I go out and I'll then get, the Governor General of Australia to be the patron of an organization, a rock star to be an ambassador, a TV anchor person to be an ambassador, to make those what seemingly seems impossible possible, because course I don't care, because I show up, because I'm edgy, because I'm funny, because whatever it is, they go, you know what, this lady's really different. So when you're thinking
Right.
vanilla is good and you're trying to go, oh, okay, well, what is everyone else doing? So I should be like them. Actually, no, your raw
Mhm.
ingredients, yeah, your business 101, but actually, that desire to go, you know what, if all of us, if 10 Colleens and Annies went on a stage on a women's leadership summit, that's right. There's enough fish in the sea. There's enough business to
Yeah.
go around. There's everyone has their authentic flavor, I suppose, of meeting the needs of someone. And also when you're at our stage of business and life and the intent behind what we do, you actually go, you know what? I actually want you to. It's all about the win for them. I want you to.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to get exactly what you want. So if it's with
Yeah.
Colleen, you should go with Colleen. If it's with someone else, for the reasons for them. Because you want your own clients to be raving fans, right? You want them to
That's
go,
right.
oh my God, it was like, wow, that just changed my life, signing up to L.E.A.P or doing Annie's
I
incubator.
always say I'm not for everyone, right? I'm not everyone's slice of pie. That's how I put it. And someone will say, like, you're my slice of pie. I'm like, okay, that's perfect. But I'm not for everyone. And you said it perfectly, and I still think that you and I were duplicated the same person and put on opposite sides of the globe, because I too was in, detention, and Colleen talks all the time and she's like constantly, and, but I know that my voice, and I was told to not speak in meetings. I was told that I was too loud, too aggressive, got called the B word, you name it, put it out there. And I know that all of that was their own stuff that
Yeah,
was being mirrored onto me because of who I was. And when I finally turned 36 years old, Annie, and I had decided that's it. I'm done doing life for other people. I'm done doing it the way they think I should be a mom, or how they think I should do this, or how I should be an employee. That changed my life. It changed
mhm,
my life, and it was nothing externally that happened. It was an internal decision. And I think it's important to point that out, because look at where your business and your life is today. If you aren't thrilled in your relationship, if you aren't thrilled with your business, if you aren't thrilled with your position in corporate America, wherever you might work, if you're not thrilled of who you are as a mother, then you need to take inventory of that. And
mm,
it starts with looking in the mirror, because a decision has to be made and the responsibility is on you. Right. I love that, Michael Jackson said, if you want change, you got to look at the man in the mirror. And it's
mm,
so true, because it was at that moment I was allowing my life to be what it was, when I made the decision, when I said enough was enough, when I said, I am going to live my life the way I want to live it from this point forward. There was nothing going to get in my way, because I had made that vow.
mm,
So if you say you want to have a great marriage, are you putting in the time and the effort to make it a great marriage? Are you just waiting for someone to make it great for you?
mm.
This goes with your business, which I see a lot, and I'm sure you see this a lot. They think there's some magic bullet out there that's going to take your business from nothing to great, right? And it doesn't happen that way. You have to make the decision. You have to have the desire. You have to have the faith. You have to have the belief. If you don't believe in what you're doing and aren't passionate about it and know it's going to change the world, don't expect anyone else to believe it and buy it from you, right? It's just the way it is. That's
100%.
when the domination comes in, like you said. They get to a point where they've grown to the point where they believe, and that's when you soar. So I think that's where Annie and I are right now, and how now we can work with other women to get them to that level. And I had a manager tell me once, Annie, my goal, he said, what is your goal? And I said, to have your job. And I said, I don't mean that disrespectful. But at the time, he wasn't even close to the CEO's position, right? Later on, it was like, I want your job, to the
Yeah.
CEO. But I said, I want your job. And he said, my goal is for you to to grow past my position. I want you to outgrow me. That's my responsibility in this. And that right there in that moment, I was really young in corporate America, and I thought, wow, this person wants to take me and teach me what they know. They're not scared to teach
Yeah.
me what they know so that I can outperform this person and move on past them. That is a true leader. And
That
that's
is
what a true
brilliant.
leader is. It's about bringing out the brilliance in other people for them to be the best version that they could possibly be. And I want everyone to soar as high as they could possibly go, doing exactly what it is that they want to do. I'm confident in what I do, but I want them to be confident in them and what they do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautifully said, and absolutely, that is the essence of a true leader. When they're not scared. They're not worried about their own role, their own job, their own position. It's like, yeah, and as a leader, actually, if you bring out the best in everyone around you, you actually do by default look better. I always tell my staff, I'm like going, oh my God, you make me look amazing. Like seriously, because they are just like punching above their weight. When you're given them the opportunity to shine, everyone does better. You get that exponential, you get the synergy of what's happening. And I absolutely love that. And what a great opportunity for you to have that at an early stage of your career, is to be able to have someone, oh my gosh, this person actually believes in me. And that can just be the seed, right? Sometimes you just need that once, and other people, because they haven't had that, they don't believe. And so I have a view that you only ever achieve what you believe, right? And that's in your position, in your title, in your relationships, with your finances. You have to believe that you're worthy of that. And then you have to believe that it is possible to achieve. So there's many levels. And I love what you were sharing there before, because I often get bogged down in the between the scale up and the dominate incubator time, that you need to actually be able to work on yourself at this time. And so what happened to you at 36 and happened to me at 34, very, very similar, actually needs to know you have to do that work. You have to reassess who you are, what your purpose is, what your values are, what your boundaries are, what you actually want to achieve, which is why I often go back to that whole vision of what you want your life to be, because until you do that, how do you step into the spotlight just then show up 100% if you don't know who that 100% is? How do you be unapologetic? You're still wafting in the wind, right?
Yeah.
You're still going, oh, and it's also hard when you're pretending to be who you think you should be. It's exhausting, right?
Exhausting.
Absolutely exhausting. Whereas when you just go, yep, sometimes I'm quirky, sometimes I'm funny, sometimes I'm this, sometimes I'm loud, whatever, but I'm consistently me, then actually that becomes 100% okay. And you don't have to have the exhaustion, and you also have clarity around who I work with, why I work that way, what I say no to. In fact, what I say no to more than what I say yes to is often important for me. Knowing, reading the game and going, where is this going and what are the advantages? All of those things. And I love that about your book, that, for those women that you're going to read about, to actually go, for them to step into the spotlight and start attracting people means that they have to have that foundation. They have to have that confidence in their authenticity.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I call it the freedom factor. It's freedom and freeing to just be who we are. Right. There's no masks. There's no cloaks. Like, I have an open closet. I don't keep skeletons in my closet, and I forgive. I repent. I don't carry around extra baggage that's not mine to carry. And I did that for a lot of years. We have damaged as we're being raised, and that keeps us from reaching that peak potential of what is possible for us. And forgiveness and all of those things that we can do really help us move to that next level. And it's important not to carry around pain and baggage that's someone else's. And forgiveness is a big piece of this, whether you're forgiving yourself, whether you're forgiving other people. It doesn't forgive a sin that's been posed upon you or say that what they did was okay. It releases you from the
Yeah.
responsibility. And so, I've always had the saying, your business can only grow to the extent that you do. And
Yeah.
I think I've started out every relationship with every person I've ever helped them build a business saying that. So how much you're willing to grow through this process is going to change how much your business will be able to grow. It's impossible to help someone work on their business and not help them work on themselves. It really is.
Totally impossible. It's
Yeah.
totally impossible. And think about it from the other side. Would you invest, would you give money and trust, is the element of trust with any business, any service, if you didn't feel that they were acting like they had the capacity, acted like
Oh,
it
no.
would be the best thing that you're ever going to receive, that you're going to have all your needs met, you wouldn't. And that's why you can stall, because there's actually a confidence. You can have plenty of people liking you, you know, you get like, but you still hear crickets, you know, from in the bank account, because it's because people know about you. They like what you are trying to do. But if you're actually trying to do business, they've got to actually have that trust in you as the person, the foundations of the business, particularly most important if you're the personal brand. But even if your brand is, you know, a company's brand, you still have to have 100% consistency and clarity that when you see that brand show up in any arena, you know, polished and unpolished, it actually is showing you that they're trustworthy, that they're gonna meet your needs. Because at the end of the day, you want Thai food, you want a certain dish, you want that to come to you just beautifully. That's what you wanted. Now, you might find that you need some other things on the way, right? Often I have a giggle, and I'm sure you do too. People come to you and go, this is what I want. You go, okay. So you want to get that quick win. But often it's like, oh my gosh, like 2 months later, they're going, I had no idea that I actually needed all these other things.
It's so true.
But yeah, I agree what you said at the beginning, that you're not actually selling immediately to their need, because if they don't know what that is, you're actually,
that's right.
This is where I'm at the moment. So that's what we've got to actually meet your requirements for, because that can be actually the opening of the door. You know, it's the key to finding all of those other things.
Yeah. And the book that I wrote, you know, the Step into the Spotlight to Expand Your Influence, really spun off of, you know, the community I created. I have a community level within my program, and that's the L.E.A.P community. And this L.E.A.P community, you know, has been Lead Up for Women in the past. And this L.E.A.P community is a community for women to be able to be seen everywhere, be seen, be heard, and be visible. It's the number one rule in business. You have to tell everybody about you. You know, if you don't tell anyone about you, nobody knows you exist. And that's really your responsibility, whether it be through ads or showing up in networking or getting on stages or podcasts or however it is. If it's local and you doing community things to get out in your community, you must tell everyone about you. And so the community was built for networking, for women to meet each other, for women to be able to teach master classes, to show what they're able to do, right? To showcase what they're able to do interviews like we're doing today, Annie, on the podcast, to do interviews on LinkedIn. It really is a platform for them to get the visibility that they need in their brand, to build that confidence, to have the education from all of the other members in the group, for them to learn from them and attend those master classes. So there's the education piece to it of building the business, plus the visual piece, you know, the branding and being able to get out there and get visible. And that's why I wrote the book, because I had been running the community for 3 years and realized that we needed a book for others that weren't part of the community to be able to tap into how they can get the visibility for themselves quickly and easily. Most of the time, you don't have to pay to be on someone else's podcast. But if you put energy into getting podcasts like I did, I think I was over 100 podcasts I was on last year, because that was my focus, was expanding my brand. So whatever you focus on, that, you know, that's where you're going to drive the success. So, you know, you've got to be very clear on what your goals are every year, and then work your way backwards on what now the action steps need to be to get there. It's very simple.
It is very simple. And a lot of people, I find, they go, Annie, you know, why do you always spend time? You don't even get paid. You should only be paid to speak, you know. And I'm like going, why would you go on different podcasts? You know, I was on yours yesterday. You know, we don't ask for money from each other. I'm going, oh my gosh, because exactly that, because it expands your brand. It makes you visible. People got to trip over you. And if you do it like you did, in 100 times last year, it's likely that the same sort of groups of people have sometimes seen you, 2, 3, 4 times, or someone else mentions it, like happened to me this week, that this lady goes, oh my gosh, I met someone who I was talking about you and she said she loves your podcast. I'm like, amazing. And I don't even know this lady, right? She apparently loves my podcast, which is awesome. But you just don't know who knows who. And that is, you've got to be visible. And I think that's one of the problems that we often go, oh, I don't want to put myself out there, because that then activates all of the fear factors, right? It's like handbrakes. It's like, oh my gosh, what if people don't like me? What if it's not perfect? What if I can't work out the way to do it properly? Well, that's actually good, because we all started that way, didn't we? Right? We've practiced and practiced.
I didn't care if anyone didn't like me. It was okay. Like literally, I was out there. I was like, I'm coming out as an entrepreneur. I'm going to be who I'm going to be, because I have freedom to work with who I want to work with, be myself for the first time in my life. And I was unapologetic and I was everywhere. And people were like, I see you everywhere. I'm like, that's right, because I'm everywhere and people are going to trip over me and keep tripping over me. Till it got to the point, Annie, about a year and a half in, right? I was hustling about a year and a half in. There would be events happening that I didn't go to because I had other stuff going on now, right? Because I'd filled up my calendar with some other things. And then my calendar started getting full during these events. And I would get on the call with them and they would say, oh my gosh, every person in every room was like, have you met Colleen Biggs? You have to meet Colleen Biggs. So I wasn't even at the event and people were telling people and sending them my calendar link to book with me. So, that's the goal, to where people are like, oh, this person, you need to get referrals, and you're not even now in the room and people are talking about you. But the only way you get there is by people seeing you everywhere. Now, again, that looks very different for different companies of what that looks like and how your marketing money is spent, your time is spent. But that is the goal. You have to tell everybody about you, or you think they know what you do. And there was a time when my own children didn't even know. They're like, what do you do? And I'm like, seriously? You don't even know what I do for a living? Yeah. So just saying, we got to tell everyone, including our kids.
Tell everyone, and you just don't know when you're in that space. You could have someone who is just great and they've got a few contacts. I had a lady I did a call with this morning who goes, oh, well, I've got 400,000 contacts. She's like this big up author publisher. And I'm like going, oh my gosh, like imagine that, so she comes on my podcast and then I'm like going, wow, talk about cross. So for those of listening, often we're focused on our primary product and the upsell. This is side sell. This is when you actually have side sell is so valuable to potential revenue business coming into you. When you get people who just get attracted to you and then, they're on your program and then, Colleen Biggs will mention Annie Gibbins and there's all these other ladies. If I've had 200 people on my podcast, they'll all go, oh my gosh, yeah, you should talk to Annie, because they hear something and they're not competing. They're actually going, oh my gosh, this is the lady you're probably wanting. Then that's just, talk about gold. That is the gold. No effort. Totally. It's actually joy. And you're also then in those positions to get those affiliates that you can market each other, and so this is the space that you can be in. So it's showing up and also focusing on the long term, right? It's like we might not reap something immediately, but you do it with the intention of just being seen, being visible, putting yourself out there, because at some stage the algorithm of that will kick in, that people will start coming back to you, that there will be a consistency. They will definitely, well, if they don't know you, how do you get someone to trust you if they don't know you, right? So you've got to start at the know and be visible. Then make sure that, one, they might like you, and also the permission to go, they might not, and that is good. I tell you what, I'd rather have someone go, yeah, you're not my cup of tea. You know what? That's just saved me a whole lot of heartache. You need to go to someone else. I actually don't want that client. And that's not a terrible thing. It's just like, if we're not going to gel, it's just going to be hard work, and you're not going to be a happy customer. And so you actually want, I want the know, love, trust. Not just like, I'm looking for the love, right? I want to go, oh my God, you're the one, the way you do things, I just resonate with that. This is going to work for me. Then that's my person. And then it's not a hard sale, because they just go, how can I work with you?
It's attraction at that point, right? It's attraction at that point. It's the same with relationships, right? You're attracted to someone. If you're not attracted to them, you got to work really hard to get to like them.
Oh, exactly.
It's attraction. That's the whole attracting part. Yeah. for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. Well, we are so attracted to each other. I can't believe how the time has passed. We could seriously talk all day. We have definitely got a girl crush on each other because of what we are doing in our lives. And we're both mums of many. We're nanas of many. We're just
Yes.
doing our thing, living our journey, just serving and helping women in the world just to reach their potential. All of you watching on my YouTube channel, you will see you can reach out with Colleen at ColleenBiggs.net. Definitely just go there. All of her other contacts will be on my podcast platform, YouTube channel, Facebook, all of that on how to get connected with her groups, her masterminds, all the opportunities, but definitely go to ColleenBiggs.net. Reach out to Colleen if what she has shared with you today resonates with you. If you're feeling that love, definitely go and find out how you can do some leaps with Colleen and her amazing tribe. And all of you, of course, I'm also CEO of the Women's Biz Incubator and the Women's Biz Tribe. So definitely, if you're thinking about doing an incubator program with me, I've got my startup, my scale up, my business domination, and my life by design program. So I would love to see you at womensbizincubator.com. If you're actually just wanting to go, hey, I'd like to join your tribe, Annie, I want to just, connect with women globally. I'd love to come to your webinars every week and just listen in and just learn what it's all about, how to actually feel that support of the community, how to feel what it's like to be immersed in confident, powerful women who are just doing their thing unapologetically, then go to womensbiztribe.com. I look forward to seeing you there. I look forward to you all having a great week and the feedback. Thank you so much to those who have listened in live with us today. And I know many, many people around the globe are going to watch this on replay as well. Thank you so much for being on my program today, Colleen.
I loved it. Thanks, Annie.